Cricket fans are crazy. They pick their own bats. Sometimes to play imaginary cover drives. Sometimes to decide the batting order. They pick their own ball. Sometimes they even picked it from the... never mind. They pick their own stumps. They pick their own boundaries. Or break the boundaries. They pick their own pitches.
Oh, that's a boundary.
Stadiums. Rules. Prayers. War cries. Heroes. And their moments.
And there it is. It is all right.
Such moments are rare. Make those rare moments your own. Cricket fans are crazy. They pick their own bats. Sometimes to play imaginary cover drives. Sometimes to decide the batting order. They pick their own ball. Sometimes they even picked it from the... never mind. They pick their own stumps. They pick their own boundaries. Or break the boundaries. They pick their own pitches.
Oh, that's a boundary.
Stadiums. Rules. Prayers. War cries. Heroes. And their moments.
And there it is. It is all right.
Such moments are rare. Make those rare moments your own. Cricket fans are crazy. They pick their own bats. Sometimes to play imaginary cover drives. Sometimes to decide the batting order. They pick their own ball. Sometimes they even picked it from the... never mind. They pick their own stumps. They pick their own boundaries. Or break the boundaries. They pick their own pitches.
Oh, that's a boundary.
Stadiums. Rules. Prayers. War cries. Heroes. And their moments.
And there it is. It is all right.
Such moments are rare. Make those rare moments your own.
Are we playing the introduction? Anyway, hello everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Radio Cricket Show. This is where we discuss the most epic moments from the past 8 seasons of the Caribbean Premier League. Now, these moments are part of our inaugural pack drop, the launch edition. And this is available on Rario.com, which is the world's first officially licensed cricket NFT platform. The moments are part of packs, and in our inaugural pack drop, we had jaw-dropping, really amazing moments curated from the past 8 seasons of the CPL. Now, those packs have sold out on Radio.com, as you can see right now. But for those of you who are watching the show, good news. For the fans who will get in the best questions, we have some free giveaway NFTs for you. Right. So, to host the show today, we are delighted to have Kartikeya Rao with us. Now, Kartikeya dons many hats in the world of sport. He is a former TV presenter, he's a journalist, writer, content creator, And apart from that, he has also managed many top cricketers. Welcome to the show, Karthikeya.
Thanks so much, Nick. It's great to be here.
Awesome. And of course, we are joined again by the legendary commentators, Tom Moody and Danny Morrison, who have been there and seen it all in the CPL since its inception. And they are here to narrate these backstories and cool insights into these moments. And you will notice that they have commentated on some of these moments, which make it really special. So welcome back to the show, Tom. Welcome back to the show, Danny.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back.
Oh, you better believe it. We're going to rip it to shreds this morning. Yeah.
Right. Let's do that. So we will have, before I hand it over to Karthikeya, let me just give you a sneak peek of the top moments that we'll have in the show tonight. And it's an exciting lineup. Why don't we pull the list of the moments? Right. So I'll just pause it for a bit. And you'll see that there are moments from across the top players, from AB de Villiers to Faf du Plessis to Andre Russell, all those top players, all those top names. You'll see them hitting sixes. You'll see them saving boundaries. You'll see them taking catches, clean bowling, Dale Steyn, all of that. So we have it all here. We have it all lined up here. And to walk you through that, I'll hand it over to Karthikeya, and he will take over and discuss these moments one by one along with Tom and Danny. So over to you, Karthikeya.
Cheers, Nikhil. Thank you so much. Messrs. Moody and Morrison, thank you for coming again and joining us on the show as we engage, entertain our friends, our fans, our followers on Rario. So it's a really exciting time. As ever, we've got 10 moments that we will talk and discuss and get some insight from you gents on. So why don't we jump into the first one, which is going to leave us all gobsmacked.
This is more like it. Has he cleared him? Oh, superbly done. Andre Russell, the Superman, leaps up. He's going to ground. He's beyond the boundary and he throws it back in.
I mean, that was just an unreal effort. Now, I'll come to you first, Danny. During the Hero CPL, we've seen you with pom-poms on the boundary. We've seen you adorn, a beard. We've seen you lie and give us very intriguing, when I say lie, I mean, lie on the pitch and give us intriguing pitch reports. We've also seen you in your career taking hat tricks and bowling menacingly. But can you fly like that? That's the critical question we're going to ask you.
Well, when you look at this, chaps, I think this was year one, wasn't it? And this was really the start of seeing this different level of athleticism of guys being able to do that. Now, I suppose fast forward to 2021, you sort of get used to it now, don't you? You see guys, Moods and I were on about the other day about the hot spots, long on, long off, and your best fielders tend to be there. You'd see Pollard, McCullum of yesteryear, these guys getting airborne. But when I look at Andre Russell, Fabian Allen there, I recall, in Florida back, I think, in 2017, pulling these sort of, if you like, they're match-saving, match-winning moments, because if they'd have gone for six, it can change the complexion of the contest. So, I know Moods and I, when we've been commentating in the box together, absolutely breathtaking and, gobsmacking, really, that these guys can do this in this 21st century. Because Moods and I couldn't. Moods would be there. He wouldn't need a step ladder. Moods would just put his arm up and go, too easy. Whereas us midgets, we'd need to try and put a cape on. But, different world now.
Absolutely. Tom, if I can come to you, of course, you're a coach and, you work on ground a lot with players. We've seen and we know relay catches, of course, but a block like that, I mean, that's almost a, goalkeeper-esque in football. So do players actually practice outrageous occurrences and potential situations like this?
Yeah, they do, and they have a lot of fun doing it. It's something they really enjoy. And the simple fact is, in T20 cricket, it's those very fine margins are critical when it comes to winning and losing games. Obviously, the shorter the game, the more those little 1%ers count for a hell of a lot. So, it is something that's practiced and it's something that's enjoyed. The players do enjoy doing it. And it's a case of being, I suppose, fearless to a certain extent on that boundary, trusting that you're not going to go crashing into any advertising boardings or anything like that, getting up and just trying to make those saves. If anything, we've seen saves like that, not only, a sixes save, but the flick back in has been passed on to another fielder that's running by in anticipation. So it is something that we see. It's quite common, but it's still, every time we see it, it blows us away.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Is there also a lot of competition amongst these boundary riders that we call them? On the long on, long off boundary towards the end of an innings. Is there a lot of competition between the guys in team? Who can do better and who can outdo each other? Tom,
I think it's pretty clear to the coaches and the captain to who operates those hot spots, and generally the mid-off, mid-on are critical positions. And normally you want someone that's athletic, like an Andre Russell, but you also ideally want someone that's relatively tall as well, because of the reason you're talking about. So someone like Danny Morrison, unfortunately, would be in the inner circle and probably hidden at that short, fine leg, which is such a popular spot for a couple of other hobbits.
Well, in that match, maybe our viewers and fans will recall that, Russell had a blinder of a game. He scored 40 of, 15 or 18 balls, and I think was man of the match, if I'm not mistaken. So it probably is also just plays to, field well, bat well, field well, kind of a, transference of energy and confidence.
Yeah, look, absolutely. There's no hiding place on a cricket field in this day and age. It's very simple. If you're not contributing with the bat and in the field as a bare minimum, or with the ball and in the field as a bare minimum, well, you're always going to have your position challenged in the side. He gives you 3 dimensions. He's batting, he's bowling, and he's a red hot fielder. So, that's why he's one of the most valuable properties in T20 cricket.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. So we'll move on from Dreras now to our second moment, which is elegance personified.
Now it's a full toss, and he's got that away. He's got that away for 4. That's what happens. Suddenly the batsman decides, when you've got someone like AB de Villiers, he says, right, I'm going to move around a bit and just think about boundaries. He's got his 5th 4.
When I said elegance personified, of course, I was being tongue-in-cheeky. But Danny Morrison, how do you bowl to a, unbowlable batsman to like AB de Villiers?
Well, I remember that replay vividly with Mikey Hazeman in this part of the world in those early days of Hero CPL. Yeah, if you don't land at 2 for a start, you're going to be in a lot of trouble against AB de Villiers. And even when it does pitch and maybe spin a bit, he is notorious for this. We have chatted at length about him in recent times, that he is probably the initiator of 360 degrees. So, yeah, you've really got to be on your game. And I think with Trevase there, you're trying to bowl different magic balls, trying to bowl those sort of, surprise deliveries. And you've got to have that in your repertoire. But, yeah, if you don't get it right, well, see you later.
No, absolutely. But, as a bowler, would you reckon, like a player like him, would it be tougher for him to pick a slower ball when he's in the zone of, just going for it? I mean, does a change of pace really from a spinner affect him, you reckon?
Huge, because as Moody and I keep talking to the cows come home, this was supposed to be the death of spinners. They said, oh, you're joking. T20, they just want to smash it everywhere. And this poor old spinners, slower. Well, at the end of the day, I think, 8 or 9 of the top 10 bowlers in T20 formats are generally wrist spinners or a slow left armer because they're unique. They take pace off it. So when I look at that, you'll see guys come on, and Moods will elaborate on this more, is that your coaches and captains will think about either opening bowling with that sort of style of bowling, because you can, it's brilliant, slipping over and get it done at the spinner possibly, but also I just think the bamboozling nature of the spinner who can give it a rip, and that pace off the ball on surfaces that might just help a little, very difficult for batters at times, and they get embarrassed just as much as bowlers can as well.
Right.
Yeah,
so we. Sorry.
Yeah.
Please continue, Tom.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add to that, the huge advantage spinners have as well is that, particularly the ones that spin it both ways with a little bit of mystery attached to it. Shakib Al Hassan is a genuine left arm spinner. So he's only turning it one way. He doesn't have any mystery ball, a deucer or anything like that. So he's turning it away from the right-hander. So he's purely relying on the angle coming into the right-hander as a challenge. But where his great skill is change of pace. So he's looking to be very, very clever with his change of pace. Obviously, the delivery, the highlight that we saw of AB de Villiers put him under enormous pressure. I think he was looking to probably go block hole with that ball and made it far too full. And, for someone like AB, he could have hit that anywhere. Absolutely.
Just a final question on this, Tom. In fact, we have a question. Why don't we take it from a viewer? Yep. It says, if you had to pick, both of you, and one of you can go first. If you had to pick only AB or Kohli in your T20 squad, who would it be?
Moods, don't get it wrong.
AB de Villiers for me.
Where's the show coming out of on this platform? We want to stay alive, Moods. Yeah, look, it is a no-brainer. I think we all know how good a player Kohli is, and I think more so longer version. But we've just been waxing lyrical about Mr. 360. AB, he's taking it to another level, isn't he? In T20 especially. Even less than 50 over cricket. He is so unique and just such a star that he also keeps. And as Moods is saying, if you don't bring two, maybe even three facets of the game to the table, you're going to struggle. Whereas, if Virat bowled a little bit better, if he was a bit more of a unique bowler, maybe. But AB keeps, and he's a wonderful keeper. Or if he hasn't, he's a dynamic fielder. Let alone his batting. Whereas, Kohli, decent batter, of course, world class. But for me, I'm with Moods.
Great. All right. Thank you. So we'll talk about ABD a little bit later in the show as well. Let's move on to our third moment to discuss.
That's a beauty. That's a nice shot. Wow, that's terrific stuff from the skipper.
Just hitting through the line, not trying to overhit it. It's a long way back. It's not a big ground here, but it's right up on the top of that stand.
So if you had ABD at one end of innovation, you have the classical, straight hit of Faf du Plessis. Danny, what do you reckon is his strength? Apart from obviously being able to hit sixes, but is that in his wheelhouse? Is that his bread and butter shot?
It is, and I know Moods will probably elaborate more because from the coaching hat that Moods brings. He's actually a really good thinker because he might not have the 360 dynamicism of an AB de Villiers or a Brendan McCullum. But, that, as you rightly say, Carters, that's his go-to area. And he has that unique grip, doesn't he, on the bat, which we all just sort of wonder how he actually can do that with that unique grip. But it just shows you he is so good downtown. He's also very good square. But he's just a good thinker in terms of manipulating fields. And I think also just playing within his range. He knows what he's about. And I don't think he tries to invent too much and get too cute. He's that sort of good, simple thinking and so clinical.
Tom?
Yeah, look, he understands his game. He plays within his limitations, and that makes him such a consistent and important member of any T20 side. That's just a classical straight hit. Everything about that was pure. If you saw that in the Test match, you'd be comfortable knowing that it was a controlled shot, a controlled aggressive shot, but he's transferred that same, I suppose, tempo into T20 cricket. And where Faf du Plessis is, a cut above a lot of the top order players, is that he has a clear understanding of his game, and he trusts his game, and he plays classical cricket shots. There's no fanfare, but he still operates at a high strike rate and a very healthy average because of that consistency.
Right. So on that topic, Tom, I'll just put this next question to you, that what position suits him best, do you feel, in T20s? Of course, he bats at 3 predominantly, but and that's where he's batted most of his, I think, white ball career. Is 3 the right spot for him?
Yes, I think players like Faf du Plessis have to bat in the top 3. It's very simple. They are your general anchor players that are consistent. They give you the ability to build partnerships with players that are a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more on the high risk scale. But if you don't have that consistent player at the other end, like a Faf du Plessis, the wheels can fall off very quickly, and before you know it, you're 3 or 4 down. But he's the one that's understands the game, understands the tempo of the game, and navigates the team through those first 10 overs to set that foundation to go big in the back half.
Right. Danny, Faf is scheduled to lead the St. Lucia team this year. And of course, he's been a captain for South Africa as well. Any thoughts on the change from Darren Sammy's leadership and what Faf du Plessis will bring to the team?
Well, as we all know, we can't play forever. And dear Darren Sammy, what he brought to the table is an inspiring guy, of course. And they're changing their name again. It's all very exciting. Of course, T20 changes a lot, doesn't it? And so they're now the St. Lucia Kings. So they've gone away from the Zooks again. I just think he brings all that experience. They got to the final first time ever last year, again, without the big, massive stars and perhaps some of the resources that TKR and the Warriors have in Guyana. Let's see. I really hope he has a good tournament, because you like your star quality or your captains having a big say, a big role within a tournament. So I think he will, and he does love it. And he's one of those guys that, again, ekes out every ounce of his talent and his knowledge to pass on to younger guys. And I think his moves, again, with his coaching hat on, sit some franchise T20 cricket around the world. You need international players who are prepared to give. They want to give, and they want to be there for the young guys, the next generation, to pass on knowledge. And he, for me, I don't know, Moody maybe want to talk more about that. He's right at the top of the list.
Yeah, Tom, I don't know how many, I don't think he's been terribly successful in franchise cricket, winning too many titles. So would that be something that he'd want to correct as well?
Look, he hasn't led too many franchises. He's obviously been a successful captain for South Africa for many years. He's tactically very sound. He's also a leader that inspires his players. So I think he'll relish the challenge to captain. And I'm sure that with the vast amount of experience he has, plus the experience that Darren Sammy has off the field, that combination could be quite a potent combination.
Right. So let's wait and watch as Faf du Plessis starts his campaign as captain. Let's move on to the 4th moment.
Something special now.
Not today, though. Super Saturday, and over goes the pulse. Ripper from Dale Starr.
This was bang on target. Didn't really bounce much, but look at the stump.
Danny, from Super Saturday to Fantastic Friday, that is today. But what made Dale Steyn just such a special bowler across all formats that he played?
All that tattoo, all that ink. Geez, what an inspiration, eh? On a serious note, another top quality, world-class South African, another one who's a very good thinker and very determined. And you could see from an early age that he had a little bit of help from the great Alan Donald, and about the rhythm and the balance that he brings to the crease when he lets the ball go is phenomenal. So he rates as one of the greats of all time. Strike rate, phenomenal in Test cricket. But also fair to say, and again, Moods might want to elaborate a bit more with the coach's hat on, is that he too is another guy that knows his game inside out, of course. But he's just so focused, so disciplined, and I think that's the other thing South Africans do bring to the table. They're very renowned for being regimented, trained hard, in the contest, want to do well. And I think it also says on the other side of the coin, sure, we're going to see highlights and great clips, but he also got taken down a little bit because I think in T20, he was so good in Test cricket and 50-over cricket, you become a little bit too mechanical. I think there's any criticism for the legend that is Dale Steyn. Sometimes he would disappear a bit. And of course, pace can disappear. And I'm being, only very critical, only because Moods and I have seen so much cricket of franchise. And Moods was in the Combox a lot in 2012 in the IPL between coaching gigs. And Moods was there too. And we were at Chinnaswamy. And AB de Villiers took down Dale Steyn. And he took him down for 23 and 1 over and then did it again in another season. I've seen Dale disappear, but that's no fault in a way. It just shows you when you've got pace and you swing it a little bit out to right-handers, in this modern game, you can disappear. So I love Dale Steyn on my side. I'd pick him on my side and his pomp because he swung the ball, a new ball, a little bit. And he was also at the wicket side, at the stumps. He tended to do that, hit the top of off, and nick you out early. But again, such a class act. But again, it goes to show you who's a great bowler can disappear as well.
Tom, what do you reckon?
Oh, look, his great skill was pace. Firstly, he was very quick in his prime. His second great skill was the swung the new ball. So in the power play overs, he was deadly. He could beat you on the outside edge or on the inside edge. That one on the inside edge, that just falling off the seam and coming in and hitting leg stump. And he had incredible control, which he developed pretty early on in his career, hence him having such a dynamic career in all formats of the game. So what are you looking for in T20 cricket from your fast bowlers? You're looking for wickets early on, which he delivered in abundance because he had those skills. And you're also looking for someone that can finish the game, can bowl quickly and get it into the block hole. The odd occasion, as Danny mentioned, he disappeared, but all bowlers do have their moments where they do disappear, but generally Dale Steyn, you can be pretty comfortable knowing that he can do the job for you at two critical phases of the game, at the back and at the front.
Right. Danny, we often talk about a slower ball, right? And especially with Dale Steyn in his, twilight years. Why don't we ever talk about a faster ball?
Well, you got to biff it. You get a little bit kinky in the elbow, a little bit naughty, transgressing that line. But just on that, Moods makes a great point. Staying at the top of the innings with a new ball, and of course when you're finishing at the back end. And the points I made about there, which you've actually raised, Carter's, perhaps the slower ball wasn't quite enough in Dale's forte, enough slower balls, and hence when he got taken down a bit was in the middle stages when a captain wanted him to come back in the middle and say, look, D, come back for just an over or two. Let's use up an over in that middle stage. And often it wouldn't work. But then again, I'm being picky. It didn't work for a lot of champion quicks. Out-and-out quicker balls, well, I think, the classic one we go to is Lasith Malinga. The changes of gear, I think, were more noticeable with someone like that deceptive quicker one, Slingy. And the other one I'll throw into the mix now too is the Aussie Sean Tate. Quick a lot of the time, but all of a sudden he'd just step it up another gear and find a little bit extra, and suddenly going from, say, 155, he'd go to 160, and you knew that it was that extra one, particularly when it was tailing in and ripping a stump out.
Right. Great. Thanks. So let's now move on to our fifth moment, if we may.
Back at long off and long on, both quite wide. He set that pretty well. That's gone. What a terrific shot that is from AB de Villiers. Some shots deserve more than 6.
But it's on the ground. That's the skill, that's the power of this man.
I'm sure Sheldon Cottrell there wasn't expecting a conventional six or a conventional shot from AB de Villiers. But Tom Moody, please tell me, how can this player be so consistent, such a prolific six hitter, even though sixes are technically and realistically risky shots to play?
Yeah, look, he's consistent. We'll put it this way. All great batsmen of the modern era, or of any era for that matter, the reason they're good is they pick up length quicker than anyone else. That shot there is a great example. It was a short ball, but it wasn't really a short ball bouncer. It only got up about mid-chest height. Now, AB de Villiers is one of those players that does pick length up very quickly, which enables him to get into a strong position very early and to be able to play what he likes. He's hit that in front of square, a long way in front of square. A lot of players would play a similar shot, but they'd be hitting that behind square because they would be a little bit more rushed than what AB de Villiers is. So he meets the ball early and he collects it in front of square, well and truly in front of square by about 20 metres. So that's one of the great assets. The other is their bat swing. They manage to have a controlled bat swing with fast hands and still remain balanced. A lot of players, when they try to swing the bat, with great velocity, they then lose a little bit of shape and their head falls away from the ball, and therefore, they're not timing the ball at all. Quite often they'll top edge it and it'll go straight up in the air. He still managed to hold a very strong base, keeps his head very still, and his hands go through the ball or the line of the ball with great pace. Put all that together, you've got AB de Villiers.
Scary.
Absolutely. Would you reckon that because of this awesome ability that he possesses, what Danny calls the 360-degree approach, do you think a few of his teammates, if they would fall cheaply, they'd always feel that, AB's coming, so it's okay? I mean, would there be added pressure on him, in instances like that?
Well, I think all great players, there's the weight of expectation. Whether it be from their teammates or whether it be from their fans or whether it be from the franchise owners, coaches, whoever it might be, there's always that weight of expectation. But the other thing that goes with great players is that they welcome that pressure. They consider that pressure as a privilege. They don't see that as anything but a challenge, where other players may wilt under that type of pressure and might find it difficult. And that's the clear difference between the very great players and the rest, is that the way they deal with, as you mentioned, the expectation and the pressure of any situation, they welcome it.
Right. Great. If we're talking about, great players, let's move to the next moment, because there's another great player in that.
Sangakkara, really clever shot. Hero maximum, but that possibly doesn't do that shot justice, because he gave himself room, tucked it round the corner.
Danny, that's not a good sight for a fast bowler.
No, but the other thing you notice about that, and I'm sure we'll show another replay, which I love the reverse end on, was that Shane Watson actually bowled a bit of a cutter. It was definitely a change of pace. And you look at Sangakkara, the way he gets inside this from the other angle, and actually, here we go, just you see, he rolled his hands down. There's another replay coming. There. And look how much he's got outside the line of off stump and done this. I mean, that is an extraordinary stroke. And again, it just underlines the modern game, T20. Yes, it's a little bit premeditated, but it's also what Moody is on about. He's another great player. And you notice how still his head is, Sangers, when he moves across the crease to execute that. Just in a way, it's just a little flick. He's not trying to hit it really hard. He just knows that the field's up, changing the field. I'm just going to step inside, love. the dance floor, they're boom.
Yeah, I mean, just to pick up that length so early, Tom, and as well as the pace is just, I mean, that's special skills.
Well, he's in the same category as AB de Villiers. You know, he's one of the game's greats. You know, players like Kumar Sangakkara don't come along that often. What I found interesting about that shot was that I do know a little bit history of Sangakkara, and he was a very good tennis player. And you can see there's a little bit of tennis in that shot with the double. It's nearly like a double hand backhand shot down across court. And it's a lot of great players. Steve Smith's another one that comes from a tennis background. You know, the cross-pollination of other sports that they've played throughout their junior career. At some stage, you see glimpses of it, you know, in the career that they've forged. In this case, Kumar Sangakkara as the batsman. So, you know, it's clever hands, clever positioning. Again, that balance is really important. Gets into position. His head's nice and still, and all he needs to do, and he knows that, is just making sure he stays in control of the shot, not looking to do anything more but to beat the short fine leg.
So you spent so much time, you know, in Sri Lanka. You must have seen him grow, mature, develop as a player, you know, with the 20 over format. I mean, was there a lot of pressure on him to become this? Because I remember watching his ODI career, and he scored his first century after, I don't know, 50 or 60 matches. Then, of course, he went on to score a ginormous load after. But was there a lot of pressure for him to pivot into becoming relevant in the T20 game format?
I think Kumar Sangakkara, like a lot of players that era, were at the age where they had an established international career before T20 came along and before it became relevant. So he, like the rest, had to make those adjustments to adapt to be an effective T20 player, which he managed to do. And he's a pretty good package because obviously his skill behind the stumps. So you've got a pure top order player that you would call more an anchor type player, and a very efficient keeper. I don't think he felt pressure because I always felt that Kumar Sangakkara sort of, I suppose, hung his hat on Test cricket and the relevance of Test cricket. And, you know, his career in Test cricket would reflect that it's something that he should be very, very proud of.
Indeed. We have a viewer question, and I'll come to you, Danny, first. The question is from Ankita, that what would be Roger Federer's favorite cricket shot? If these gentlemen played double-handed backhands or Sangakkara did, what do you reckon Roger Federer's favorite cricket shot would be?
The graceful art that is Roger Federer, and you hear it so often over tennis commentary, that he is. He's poetry, isn't he? Emotion. I think maybe one of those late dabs, those beautiful controlled late dabs, and just roll the wrist over it and put it between two guys that were positioned there and just laugh and go, "That's 4 more, gentlemen. Thank you."
Tom, what do you reckon?
That's a pretty good. I was actually thinking that, you know, the straight hit straight over the umpire's hit, one bounce into the sight screen, it would be the dismissive Federer, which we've seen him on the tennis court dismiss his opponents, you know, so often. So, you know, from a bowling perspective, there's probably no more intimidating shot than when you get drilled down the ground straight over your head for 4 or 6.
So you reckon, given his beautiful one-handed backhand, maybe a one-handed straight drive just back over the bowler?
Or a reverse sweep.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Great. Let's move on to our next moment now.
In the air, and this could well be another one for Nabi. It's a handful for him. There it is, 5 for Nabi. Mohammad Nabi's first 5-wicket haul in the Heroes CPL.
So Mohammad Nabi bags his 5th wicket for the St. Lucia Zouks at the time. Danny, for a bowler who's definitely the number 2 star from Afghanistan cricket, he's still one of the most utility kind of cricketers around, in the bowling department, would you not say?
Well, he's one of those guys that Moody talked about earlier. You tick the boxes of the 3 facets, and certainly in these conditions. It was last year. I was just looking closely at the footage because there was obviously no one in the crowd,
Yes.
and that was last year up there at the Queen's Park Oval, and it was turning a bit. So it was helping the slower men, the spinners, and you're playing those sort of strokes, high risk against the turn of Nabi. But he comes in, he slogs as well. He's a very adept player at hitting straight, loves going in the wide V, does a job for you and can float in the order. And I know Moods has used him at different times in that way. And of course, then he's fielding. He's got good hands. He often fields in the deep as well. A decent arm on him, and particularly years gone by. In the twilight of his career, but nonetheless, a very, very good all-rounder. And you'd have him in your side, definitely.
Tom, you were commentating when he took this fifer. You've also worked with him at SRH. Any insight into his process of preparing for a T20 game?
Yeah, look, he plays specific roles for SRH and also in other franchises where he is what you'd call a match-up bowler. So if your opposition has 3 or more left-handers in their top 6, you'd see Nabi very much match up against that, those left-hand batsmen. Around training, he would make sure that a lot of his practice is based around bowling to left-handed batsmen. He'd have a brand new ball that he'd work with because quite often he would take the new ball in those matchups. And his practice was pretty much based around making sure it was role specific around what he was doing in the next game that he was playing. From a batting perspective, he's one of the dangerous power hitters down the order. He tends to come in at number 7, can clear the ropes, with ease. He's a strong guy, and he's someone that trains incredibly hard, not only in the net environment but also in the gym, to maintain his strength and his durability as a cricketer that's, he's a journeyman. He's been around the traps for a long time and been very successful wherever he's gone.
Great. Thank you for that. Let's now move to the next moment.
Magnificent! Surely Jonathan Carter, a candidate for the catch of the season. Republic Bank Classic.
This guy's got a cape on!
Oh, Jonathan Carter from Mars, with the cape on. Moods, what have you done? You've frozen them.
No, I don't think we've frozen. But
I think Kartik is facing some connectivity issues, so I'll take over for a bit. How about that? You mentioned about the putting the cape on.
Holy! Yeah, dear old Bish was loving it, wasn't he? He was out of his chair, and I remember it well, being alongside the big man. Again, it just shows you what the modern era and T20 has done for fielding. Massive. Being there that night again, and the ball, guys can bowl good bounces and changes of pace, and it would still bounce. So it's a very good pitch, and bowlers do get good reward if you're into the surface. And Jonathan Carter, you think it's dying and dipping on him, but he backed himself and threw himself. And again, what Moods is saying about fielders being brave, fearless and brave, and backing yourself to take it, not even thinking about worrying about your body or, it's a split-second reaction. That's all it is, reaction gone, reflex, and you go with it. And Carter, you dive there and land. If you land badly, and you're not as athletic and as skilled as someone like Carter there, you pop your shoulder out. And again, it just shows you the professional level of those guys and the way he took it and landed and rolled so it didn't pop out. Top draw. Brilliant.
Right. And I think Karthikeya is back, so I'll just pop right out.
Carter's, you've been at the bar.
I think my internet saw that catch and decided that, oh, come on, I need a bit of a break here. But you were, I know Nikhil was saying you were in commentary, but there's something about West Indian fielders and their athleticism in the last few years. I don't think over the years they were really known for the fielding. So Tom, has something changed in the last decade or so that the focus on fielding and catching has really become? I mean, it's still gone to a different level.
Yeah, look, to be honest with you, I'd have to slightly disagree with you. I've always thought the West Indians have been exceptional fielders. You go back to Viv Richards, you go back to Roger Harper, Gus Logie. They've had many dynamic fielders. They're very athletic. We see, we see it quite often. Them taking spectacular catches or brilliant run-outs. But I think the West Indies are no different than any other side in the world. They know that fielding has to be a focus, and they know that it's an area that you need to take control of. There's no particular excuse around, whether you can, catch, throw, ground field, move quickly and fluently there, because there's very little, particularly in T20 cricket, there's very few hiding spots for anyone to go. So, I think the West Indies, like every other nation out there, have got a priority when it comes to fielding.
Right. So let's now move to our next moment, and we can continue this conversation after that.
It's gone high. Has it gone long enough? It doesn't look like it. JP Duminy and company. And oh my goodness! Taken on the rebound. Jonathan Carter holds on after JP Duminy overran it, and it parried off his hand.
Well, very evidently, Ian Bishop was about to jump out of the commentary box and not just his chair on that occasion. But Tom, highlighting the need again of what you mentioned earlier in the show of two fielders running together, either to field or to catch potential difficult opportunities, and that meant Carter again.
Yeah, look, that was probably the worst example of two fielders not communicating. We quite often see this situation where fielders collide. What needed to happen in that situation, if you're looking for a perfect fielding execution, is one of the fielders calling the other fielder out by, calling it as their catch. That other fielder remains a comfortable distance from the catcher to be in a position to be able to take, any leftovers if that's the best way to put it. This is just pure luck that this has been held on to. Some great reflex work by Carter to be able to pick up the drop catch. But the only reason it was dropped and JP Duminy was out of position was because of the confusion and the cluster of them meeting together at high speed. We've seen some ugly incidences over the years in the history of the game with fielders colliding and getting injured quite badly. Thankfully, that didn't happen. There wasn't any damage. All there was a circus act to take a catch.
Freaky.
Danny, would this be one of the more audacious catches you've seen in the Hero CPL?
Well, Carter's, look, there's another West Indian taking a good catch, brother. You're getting put in your place, aren't you, you rat bag? To be fair, I mean, again, you mentioned it too. There's Carter. And as much as that was dangerous, I think it also underlines, again, the awareness too of someone like Carter. I mean, it could have been any number of those boundary riders in Hero CPL, or for that matter, around the globe in T20 cricket, because they practice this so much out in the deep. But to be put off like that with JP and to hold on to it, but freakish, but lucky claw. Oh. And again, as Mood said, fortunate that it wasn't big bang of heads. Very, very fortunate.
Yep. All right, we'll move now to our last moment of the evening before we take some audience questions. So let's jump into it.
Swung away, and that's a blinder. We were just talking about his age, and he has shown great athleticism. That's a digital, extraordinary moment by Daniel Vettori.
So we don't want to be ageist and talk about Dan Vittori's age, but Danny, was Dan Vittori always a spectacular fielder, or was that some an anomaly?
No, I'm being honest and kind too. He wasn't the most athletic and dynamic like a West Indian or a rubber man from the subcontinent. And everyone was quick to point out how old he was. God, Moods, I forgot. This must be about one of the first seasons, because he did play. You keep forgetting he played in those first 2 seasons, and that was it for Dan. Did well, and he was a guy that, look at me, just no fuss. Oh yeah, look, dived across, stuck a mid out. I'm 6'4". She's stuck, and let's move on. Well done, Chief. Too easy.
Do you reckon he was a bit surprised, himself with that effort? Because he's such a composed person, and he's not going to say or show anything much. There you see him. It was just almost like he plucked it out of the air.
Well, it was around a similar time, because if that's maybe 2013, 14.
This is 2015, I think.
Right, and so the 2015 World Cup. I remember, Moody might remember too. He got airborne and caught one in Wellington. I just remember seeing this in the package, watching it live, and he got airborne. And because he is a tall man, right on the fence there at the Wellington Stadium, they nicknamed the Cake Tin, and it isn't that big a boundary anyway. And he got airborne and took a one-hander. Again, no fuss, just, okay. Yeah, there it is. Catching practice, shelling peas, let's just move forward. That sort of character.
You like it. Great, gentlemen. Thank you so much for all your insights on the moments of today. I think Nikhil's got the next update for us.
Yeah, so I'll be pulling in some audience questions, but before I do that, I had a couple of questions myself. So Danny, you might remember Shane Thompson from 1996, that one-handed catch. You must be there in that match.
Oh, Tomo, was this the World Cup in '96? You're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
he went running back and then took a catch, and that is a catch that we have seen for 10 years in India, because that was a World Cup in India, and they used to have these highlight reels, and that Shane Thompson catch was something that was always shown there.
He was another one who's sort of a little bit underestimated, and look, I'm not being too mean or nasty. That Tomo loved being in the gym pumping weights and looking good, but he really didn't probably spend enough time throwing himself around. And diving in the outfield, because Tomo loved being in close. Actually had good hands, but he was mainly in the 30-metre circle. So when you think about him having to throw himself backwards, all that effort for the big guy, because he got very pumped up and strong. He got right into bodybuilding, did Shane Thompson. They got very strong in that batting. But I do remember him falling over, and that stuck as well.
Right. And Tom, you made an interesting point. So I had a question about that cricketers playing tennis and in general the cross-disciplinary sports thing that comes in. So, we have read about Roger Federer playing a lot of sports. Nadal, players like Nadal who have, till the age of 16 or even 13, 14, played multiple sports. But there are people like Tiger Woods who have been groomed to play one sport since they were 3-4 years old. So what is your opinion on, let's say, someone growing up? Do you think the specialization should come in right up, or people should, the kids, the teenagers should enjoy what they're playing and then decide later on?
Yeah, I think very much the latter. I think it's important that children play multiple sports. Learn the different skills that are involved in those multiple sports. It also helps them develop physically in a different way if you're doing, multiple sports, because there's different movement patterns from playing cricket there is to playing soccer or football or playing tennis or playing hockey. All these different skills helps develop all these different sports, I should say, develop different skills, but also develops different muscle groups and muscle memories, which is important when it comes to finally choosing your sport of choice, which you feel passionate about, which is the most important thing. Look, Tiger Woods, who would ever question, the method that he came through, because he's one of the greatest sportsmen of all time. But, I'm sure there have been thousands and thousands of casualties of examples of a Tiger Woods where they haven't quite made it for whatever reasons, and they've had their developmental years, in a way, taken from them by just focusing on one thing and one thing alone.
Right, fair point. So we'll just pull up a few comments or questions from the audience stream that came in, and we'll take that up and we'll end. So there's one about T20 cricket. So when it started, it was a batter's playground. But do you think things are starting to balance out a bit in terms of the battle between the bat and ball? Tom, I think let's start with you first.
Look, Danny made a good point, and it's a fascinating point early on in our coverage, and that was around how, if you look at in T20 cricket, all the top bowlers in the world are all spinners. I think it's about 8, if not 9 out of 10 are all spinners that are boasting the most amount of wickets taken, best strike rate, best economy rate. Yes, it is designed, T20 cricket, it is designed for batsmen more than bowlers. But what we have seen is the spin bowlers dominate. So if anything, I think they're the bowlers, that's the discipline that is having the greatest amount of time in the sun, if I could put it that way. Yes, it's a great playground for batsmen, but I think that's part of the appeal of the game, is that the public come to watch the fours and the sixes, and also it's always nice to see a mystery spinner sort of weave their web. I think the balance is right for T20 cricket. I think for Test cricket, though, you definitely want a more of an even balance. And what we see, particularly Test cricket in England, is a great balance where bowlers have their fair chance to be able to undermine the opponent, and if you bat well, you'll score runs.
Right, Danny, you would love the bowlers taking over, right?
Well, not so much. I think just on that point, and it is a fascinating one that we thought was going to be the death of spinners, T20 or T10, whatever, is that you need the game. I think personally, from sitting in the box and seeing a lot of cricket over the last 20 years, and particularly T20, is the game is crying out for another, I think, sort of a Lasith Malinga. The game needs someone a bit funky and freaky, whether they're left-handed or right-handed, but to be able to bowl really good tailing Yorkers and to have it on call, whether it's bowling with a new ball from the outset to get a Yorker right, and then, of course, when the ball gets older and it tends to tail it just that little bit more. The quicker men can have their say at just varying points, either really at the beginning or pretty much at the end, and the spinners then, they've got that big scope of most of the overs, if you like to say 15 of the 20, to weave their magic. So it'll be interesting, the young guys that are coming on, this big fella, Kyle Jamieson from New Zealand, who's a bit freaky, who was more of a batsman that's become a bit of a bowler through Test cricket and now is getting an opportunity. So it'll be interesting how he develops moving forward and gets pumped a little, and how he mentally copes with that in his development for someone so young to then be under the microscope, whether it's in the IPL or the CPL or international T20, that to me will be fascinating.
Right. So if Martin Crowe was still around and Deepak Patel was still here, would Crowe open with Patel in T20s as well?
Well, again, look at that. I mean, look at the innovation. And again, from someone like Crowe and the coach at the time, Warren Lees, because he was a keeper. And those two initiated that. And again, it was about our surfaces in New Zealand on pretty slow dung heaps, ground sharing with rugby. It linked itself to that. Pace off the ball, innovation, in a way, it was a little bit more of a blueprint for the next century. And Crowe was just, as we mentioned, I think a couple of days ago on the show, was a little bit ahead of his time.
Right. So staying on the theme of innovation, this was a question that came in after seeing all those shots. Tom, what is your opinion about switch hit? Is it technically brilliant, or is it just pure slog?
Oh, technically brilliant, without a doubt. It's not a slog. It takes a lot of skill to be able to do it. Not everyone can do it. Everyone can just slog the ball. Even Danny can slog the ball, but I can assure you, he can't. Yeah, but you can attempt. You can attempt to slog the ball. You may not hit the ball, but that's another thing. But the switch hit, it requires skill. It requires balance, and it's one of the hardest shots to play. And we only see a very few collection of batsmen to be able to master it. Probably the first to do it and do it successfully was Kevin Peterson, but you could probably name only 10 in current world cricket that can do it effectively like Kevin Peterson.
Right. Danny, your thoughts about that? Closing thoughts?
Well, I just think on that, I think the game keeps evolving and you're trying to outdo and outthink as a batsman, the bowler, aren't you? And I think really in a way with that lovely reverse dad, again, as Mood said, it's a hugely skilled thing to bring to the table. And you've got to be brave. Let's face it, some of these guys are reverse sweeping quickly. And they're in a good zone. But against the spin, and we keep going back to spin, which has actually had such a big say, you have to be able to reverse sweep spinners, because then you open up the other side, and then you've got the captain and the coach pulling their hair out. And that's where it came about. You had to open other areas because they've been traditionally shut down. So I think it's just wonderful. There's a great dynamicism of batters then adapting and changing to then open up the other side of the field.
Right. And you would have no issues as a captain about tearing your hair out.
That's right, because I've gone to the best and best barber on the planet.
Right. Thanks, Danny. Thanks, Tom. On that note, we have come to the end of another great episode with action-packed moments from the CPL. Thanks, Karthikeya, for
taking a photo. You're so handsome. I'm taking a photo. There you go, to prove to my wife I'm actually doing something.
Okay, and we'll see you again. So everyone who has joined it, thank you. We'll see you again same time tomorrow. Do not forget to tune in. We'll have the last 10 moments from the silver series, and then we'll move on to the gold and black. So for those of you who are not aware, just go to rario.com, see what packs are there, see the list of moments, and see what epic jaw-dropping moments we have lined up for you with our experts and legendary commentators. So thanks everyone tuning in at the same time. Thanks, Karthikeya. Any closing remarks from you?
All good. I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Well done, Carters.
So thanks, Danny. Thanks, Tom. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Hey, guys.
Cheers.